Hello everyone, it's Terri from Danu's Irish Herb Garden, and today I'm going to make some soap using herbs, which I said I would do on the last video. But before I get started on that, I just want to show you this plant, which is called soapwort. And it's called soapwort because it is brimming full of saponins. They're one of the constituents of the plant. Plants with saponins are usually used to cleanse the system, and particularly the lymph system. And this is no exception. Most of the saponins, or the soap effect, are in the roots. But even the leaves, if you take a few leaves and you wet them and just rub them in your hands, you don't get a foaming lather, but you do get a very gentle, soft, almost like a moisturizing lotion. You can just sense that it's soapy. But it does make your hands feel clean and lovely, ready to do something delicate or cook food with or something. So it's just interesting to know. I could come out here, grab a few leaves and wash my hands with, but I prefer to have a bar of soap. So come inside and I'll show you how to make lavender soap. I've used lots of different herbs in my soap making, and it's just a way to bring another element and to bring the medicinal qualities and the beautiful aromatics into your soap. And one good reason why I would recommend people make soap is because even though you're making it with caustic soda, which seems almost the wrong thing to do, the saponification process eliminates the caustic quality and actually creates glycerin. So your soaps are very, very gentle and soothing and soft on the skin, and very moisturizing because of the glycerin. Whereas when you buy a soap in a shop, they tend to have extracted the glycerin and they sell it on as a byproduct. So the soap from a shop, is a commercial soap, will be much harsher on the skin. So that's one good reason why to make your own soap, as well as the reason of incorporating herbs into yet something else that you can use around the home and on the body. So today I'm going to make lavender soap. So I have my lavender infused oil, and I have lavender infusing in hot water as well. So I'm just going to strain off the water, because when you're making soap, you're mixing water and oil together. And the two oils I'm using are coconut oil and olive oil. I've infused lavender, fresh lavender, in olive oil, and I'm going to strain this out now so that I can measure the oil so I have the correct quantity. So I'm straining through muslin. I'm squeezing out the cloth, the muslin. I measured the caustic soda already, and now I have to measure the oil. So if I put my pan onto this little scale, and when I turn it on, it'll be at 0. I'm just measuring the oil. I need 1,000 grams. So I'm a bit short, so I'm going to have to top up with some ordinary olive oil. So that's that. And then we add the coconut oil, which I've already weighed out. So that's olive oil and coconut oil. I'll just scrape all that in. And I'm going to put this on the heat. So the coconut oil will melt, and when we get to a particular temperature, we add the caustic soda into that oil mix. So what we have to do now, I've got the caustic soda here, and I'm going to put it into the lavender tea that I made. And I'll just give that a little stir. Now this is going to start heating up and giving off fumes. So don't have any pets or children because, you know, it can make people's eyes water. Some soap makers advise wearing goggles and special clothing. So I've just got on an old dress. Don't wear anything that you don't want to get spoiled, because when you're blending the soap, tiny little splatters will occur, and I've ruined a cardigan in the past. So just wear old clothes, wear goggles, have lots of ventilation. We've got the window and the door open. So you can see the steam coming off this. It's very, very hot. And that will begin to cool down as the oil is warming up. And then we just keep measuring the temperature until we get the same temperature. I'll just give this a little stir. And already the coconut oil is melting. So what we have here, we've got, I'll just go over it again. We've got lavender infused oil, and I've topped it up with organic olive oil. And we've also got organic coconut oil. And in the jug, we have caustic soda in a lavender tea. So I infused lavender in boiling water to make the tea. That's cooled down, and I've added the caustic soda. And when they get to the same temperature, we're going to put the lye solution in with the oil and blend it up with a stick blender. And just keep giving this a little stir to make sure the caustic soda remains dissolved. And just keep giving this a little stir to help the coconut oil. It's almost all dissolved now. This is the temperature gauge that I use. It's a little milk thermometer that you can easily get in a kitchenware shop. We're waiting for that needle to drop down to 50 degrees. So see, at the moment it's just, well, it's about 70. So this is going to cool down to 50, and the oil is going to heat up to 50, or pretty much thereabouts. You don't have to be pedantic about it. But the soap is better made if they reach the same temperature. It's very easy to make. As you can see, you basically got just two containers on the go. You just measure them one to the other. It takes a little bit of time to get the temperatures close, but it's so worth it. When your soap is ready and you're using it, and you get a beautiful lather on the skin, which is soft and moisturizing, you can really appreciate the difference, because a lot of commercial soaps are stripping the moisture from your skin. So it doesn't make sense to use them when you can make it this easily. And it's so cheap. Now that is up to 50 now. So just see if this has gone down to 50. No, this is still quite high. Right, so that's at 50 now as well. So I'm going to put it into the oil, and be very careful when you're working with lye, because you can feel it on your skin and it just feels a little bit warm, but after a while it starts to feel very irritated and sore. So just be very careful. And as I say, be particularly careful if you have young children or little pets that like to jump up and be bouncing about, because they could get hurt. So the lye is in with the oil, and now I'm going to blend it. So I just use a stick blender, and it's just like blending soup. And you keep blending this until it becomes like custard. So you can make it's soap makers will say until you reach trace, which means when you drip it, it leaves a little trace along the surface of the solution in the pan. So this can take maybe 5 to 10 minutes. It depends on what kind of soap you're making. And I don't know, sometimes it just takes a bit longer than the 5 minutes. I'll just have a little rest for a moment, and I just want to show you I've got moulds here. These are silicone moulds that I use. I don't use silicone for baking because I'd personally be a bit wary about it, seeing as it was used on the outside of spaceships. But what I do like to use are old milk cartons because I'm recycling them, and they're so simple. Just cut the front panel off, but leave the cap in so that the soap doesn't ooze out. You can see now how solid that is. It's leaving a trace or a little shape on the surface. So it's ready to pour into the moulds. So I'm going to fill the milk carton first because that means I can then slice it into lovely, nice hand-shaped square shapes. I have an old towel here because we need to keep the soap warm because it's going to continue cooking. So I'll just pour some in here. And I'm going to pour some into my lovely heart-shaped mould as well. This soap is now undergoing a chemical process called saponification. Sapon is soap. So the caustic soda is going to change, but it is still quite caustic. If you were to get this on your hands or onto this towel, it will burn. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a layer of baking paper, parchment, over the soap so that when I wrap the towel around, it won't get spoiled. And then I just put the towel over. This is a double layer. It's kind of going to keep cooking it until it's solid. So I'm going to leave it in the towel now for 24 hours. So this time tomorrow evening, I will unfurl it and unwrap it and pop the soap out. Well, it's 24 hours later and I've just taken the soap from the moulds. They're still quite damp with oil. So they have to harden off for about 6 weeks to cure. So that just means I'll leave them exposed to the air on a dry, this is a cooling tray for when you bake cakes and things, but it's perfect to let the air circulate all around. So after about 3 or 4 weeks, when they're obviously dry, I will then put them into a box and keep them for another 2 or 3 weeks until they're completely dry and cured. And then they're very safe to use, and they're lovely to use, but any harshness will have gone, because you see the saponification process is still continuing until they're cured. So I've got my little soaps that came out of the mould. I've got the one that was in the milk carton ready to chop up, and I just thought I'd show you what they look like after they're cured, when they're completely finished. I'll put the recipe underneath and give it a try, and let me know how you get on. It's another way to use herbs. It's another way to be self-empowered and not be relying on global companies that give you a product that's totally inferior because they've stripped the glycerin out of it. So do have a go, and it's so cheap as well. I mean, if you were to buy that in a specialist soap shop, you'd probably pay about €5. Whereas I've made all of this for much less than €5. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, have a look at the website, consider doing a workshop with me, and happy soap making, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.